Now, you know you're supposed to be using newspapers as part of your genealogy research, but you're finding it can get a little pricey because there's no one place, no one database that has all the newspapers out there that we need to use, and having subscriptions to all of them gets expensive. I get that. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite free online and offline places to search for newspapers that you can use in your genealogy research. Hey there, if we haven't met before, I'm Lisa with Are You My Cousin? I'm a genealogy researcher and author whose YouTube channel here is designed to help you find your ancestors, grow your family tree, but not get overwhelmed in the process. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, you're in the right place. Now, reading the morning newspaper was a big deal in my house when I was growing up. Everybody in my family came down to breakfast and would sit behind the newspapers reading the paper and passing the sections around. Well, except for me because, I just read the cereal box. I wasn't really into the newspapers myself. But here's the thing. Our ancestors were. The newspaper is how our ancestors kept up with the world. It's how they kept up with their local community, what was happening locally, but also regionally and around the world. In some sense, it was their social media. So as we research our ancestors and get to know them on their personal lives, we have to include that newspaper research as part of that. So I have to ask you, are you regularly using newspapers as part of your genealogy research into your ancestors? Let me know in the comments below if you do, or if you just hope to do so in the future. Finding newspapers to fit our research needs can be a bit of a struggle. As I mentioned, there is no one central place that we can go to research newspapers. However, there are some really good free options out there for us to start with as researchers. I'll be sharing a number of examples with you, and you will find links to those in the description below. Now, one of the first places that I go to start my newspaper research is chronclingamerica.gov. It is a free database, and it is fabulous. It has thousands and thousands and thousands of newspaper pages that we can search through. So I'm going to actually now hop over and let you take a look. I want to give a short demo of what that looks like so that you can get an idea of how to search at Chroncling America. Okay, we're over here at Chroncling America. It is a free newspaper website. It is part of the Library of Congress. And this is really my first stop again for newspaper research. It's quite easy to search. As you can see here up in the left-hand corner, they have over 20 million pages of newspaper print that we can research. So that's obviously quite a lot for us to look at. Now, I typically, let me just show you, you can search by state. And so we'll do one, say, I'm going to look at Minnesota. And I'm going to look for, I have an ancestor that went in that direction. Let's just say from, I think he went around 1840, 1839 somewhere. And I'm going to narrow my dates down back. Let's take him back down to, say, 1900. There you go. And I could put a surname in. I could put a first name. I'm going to actually put in his name just to see if I can get a hint that way to start with. And I'm going to hit go and see what happens. All right. And so what I find here is that I actually have 5 newspapers, 5 hits, results that I can then go and look for and click in and read to see what we have. So this is how I would use the Chroncling America. Again, it is the first place that I go to start my newspaper research because it is so comprehensive to be able to do that. Now, I do want to show you another way to search that. So there are, as you can see, we have tabs up here, and I like to go to all digitized papers, newspapers. So this is all of the digitized papers. It's just a different way to look at it. And what I can do is search by state, and let's just see what we have. So say we went to Minnesota. Again, we can also look to see if there are any ethnic newspapers that we want to look at, because remember, when we're incorporating social history as part of our genealogy research, the newspaper plays an incredibly important part for our research as well as for those immigrant communities. So maybe you're looking for Irish newspapers that were for Minnesota, covering Minnesota. This is just an idea I pulled right out of my head. And look, there are 2 of them. So we have one from 1886 to 1920, and then we have another one from 1885 to 1886. So obviously a very short run. So this gives us a chance to be able to learn more about and check out those newspapers as well. So if you're researching a group of people, an ethnic group, this is another great way to see what was available and to be able to research those newspapers for their communities. After Chroncling America, typically the next place I'm going to search for newspapers is actually at the state archives and or the state library. And the state where I research, they typically, while they are two separate entities, they are in the same buildings, just one floor apart. Now, the state archives has a large digital collection of newspapers online that I can actually search. But when I get stuck at that point and I've exhausted that digital collection, then I'm actually going to make a trip and see what they might have on microfilm or microfiche. This is a good time to talk to that archivist or that state librarian to see what they might hold that you might not have thought to look at. So some of those smaller newspapers, they may be able to help you track down. Now, as a follow-up to that, I would actually also reach out to the library that would be local to where the ancestors live that I am researching. Oftentimes they have those local newspapers, particularly those small, short-run newspapers. They're on microfiche and, well, believe it or not, still sometimes the original newspapers themselves. So I would actually reach out to them as well and make that trip. If I can physically get to the library, that's going to be the best. If not, then I might see if I can enlist the help of a librarian to help me search through those records. Now, Google News or Google News Archives is another free place to look for old newspapers that you might be able to use in your genealogy research. So let me just take you once again right back into my computer, let you look over my shoulder and show you what I find there at the Google News Archive. Here we are over at the Google News Archives to just give you a quick look of what you can potentially find here. You can certainly search up here in the search bar for the archives. So you would just put in your location, or you could put in a name, click search archives, and it will show you what they've got. But I wanted you to kind of get an overall view. You probably notice immediately, these are not strictly US records. So we have a number of Canadian records. We have literally records from around the world. So we can search through them that way. If you know the name of record that you're looking for, this would be, you could simply go through the alphabetized list and find it. If you're not in that case, then you can go up and do a search for either people or locations or whatever a topic that you might be interested in. But these are, while they can come fairly modern, we absolutely have some like this one, the Acadian Recorder, which dates back to 1854. So you can see there's quite a wide range of dates here that might be helpful for you in your research. So you definitely want to bookmark this and make sure that you are including it in your searches as well. Another source for free newspaper research is actually called Elefind. It is not one that I have typically hear of being used by many, but it is definitely out there and one you want to explore. And once again, all of these links are in the description below. Now, if you would like to learn more about free resources to help you in your genealogy research, be sure and watch this next video. Stop overlooking these 3 free genealogy research tools.